About the homework, these are the graded ones. At the end of class, just come and pick up yours so you can find it. Some of them have comments on them, some of them don't have. Sorry. So, you did very well. I have one homework which doesn't have a name. So, and those who have typed it, thank you, because it was easier to read. And finally, there were some people that I sent them an email that I didn't get your homework. It doesn't mean anything bad had happened. Just I might have not lost it, or it might be my grade or anything. Just let me know if you have even submitted it or not. If yes, then we'll find it. So don't worry if you got an email like that. And anyway, those that submitted, I don't know. Anybody knows? If you know, this is somebody's homework without the name, so just after the class, come and have a look at it.
The handwriting is bad?
The handwriting is... Well, I didn't read all of it, so my grade already, so I really don't know, but this is good handwriting. Consider it honest. And the solutions will be posted tonight, but I guess you should all know for them, right? Okay. Now, what I'm going to do today is going to be very short, and most of the time will be your questions. Yes?
Can you quickly just touch base upon the concepts of reduced costs and shadow prices? I don't think it's clear to some of us.
You have to write it down.
Especially, what do reduced costs mean for excess variables?
And if you write them down, you can look for one. Yeah. So, do you want to talk about reduced costs? And what else? Shadow prices. Anything else?
Go over that when you do the absolute values or the minute max also. Just,
okay. So the absolute values and minimization of max, yes?
Or the other way around.
Okay, it's the same idea. Anything else?
The portfolio that was covered last time.
I'm going to talk about that on the other. That's nearly the only thing that I have.
Approximately slightly.
Okay. Alright, that's it. So that's good. Anything else? Okay. First, let's go over last lecture, the single period one, the single period market model, and let's see what those last 3 pages mean. You didn't cover the last page, so don't worry about that. Let me see. Yeah, that's it. So that's the main thing that I want to talk about. So in this example, what you had was even before doing that, let me explain something more fundamental, which has been a source of confusion in the last few lectures. So we want to make a convention here, and just so that all of us are on the same line and nobody makes excuses. From now on, when you're writing cash flows, positive ones are the money that you get. Negative ones are the outflow, the money that you have to pay. We have used both conventions before. I'm going to explain to you what we have used till now. And then we're just going to stick to one of them for the whole semester in the class and the session so that you don't confuse. Next semester, all of you will have a class called Advanced Engineering and Corporate, I forgot the name again, something like that. And you will talk a lot about those things. So don't worry about it then. The only thing that I want to say is, when you're looking at a timeline, wherever you are standing, we call it time 0. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you're always standing at time 0 looking into the future. Okay, so this is time period 1, time period 2, time period 3, year 1, year 2, whatever you want to call it. And this goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now, if you have money which you are earning it, somebody is paying you, that's going to be positive numbers from now. So you can show them different ways. I like to show them this way. So I would say this 100, this would mean you are getting $100 from somebody. Okay? This 20 means you're paying 20 to somebody. So, for example, in this year you are getting 150 from somebody and $20 you're paying to somebody else. So just to make clear what we mean by these cash flows and so you can and even on time 0, right now there is no difference. If you are buying something, you are paying. So you say $10 paying, for example, $5 getting from somebody. So this is going to be our convention from now. Inflows positive, outflows negative. Okay. Whatever you are paying is negative, whatever you are getting positive. Now, in the last homework, we used another convention that I'm just going to explain for you so that you don't confuse it with this one, but we're not going to use it anymore. Time zero, in a sense, is a little bit different than the other times, at least for our example. The difference is, here we are spending money, you're buying things, you're doing an investment, here they are paying you back. So, what we looked at in the last homework, any time period after, beyond zero, so in all these things, we looked at revenue. So when we looked at the revenue, the positive number were the revenue, the negative number were whatever you're paying other people. But in the first period, we looked at the costs. So when you were looking at the costs, the positive number were the costs, the negative number are opposite of the cost, which are the revenue. That's why in that question, whenever in the first period, if you were buying something, they were positive. But here, when you were paying something, they were negative. Basically, they are buying and paying are the same concept. But here we use positive for them, here we use negative in the last homework. So you can forget all of it from now on, just to make sure that we are on the right thing. Whenever you are paying somebody, we are going to use negative numbers, and when you are getting numbers, you are using positive numbers. So that's for the example, there's no confusion. Is that clear? Because there were people asking about the last, the last homework, that multiplier had to change the sign negative positive. If you look at this convention, you don't need to change that sign. Everything will be nice. Nothing to that. Okay. Now we're going to talk about this single period stuff that we had last time.
One thing, yes, in the homework we have, it says something about the demand. When the demand is positive, then you will have to pay money, right?
Which homework?
Homework 2.
Oh, I will go over homework 2. Homework 2 will go over. Security is attainable. Okay, first we define. Oh no. Okay. So the setting of our question was a very easy setting. Started at time 0. You were standing somewhere, and you had to buy some security. N type of security. N type. For our example, let's keep n equals to 3. So you could either buy, let's call them A. You can either buy A1, A2, or A3. There were these types, and you had to choose a vector of how much of each you want to buy. It can be positive or negative, meaning you either buy it there. So, well, we will restrict it later. And then, whatever you are here, then you're gonna, future is unknown. So probabilistically, you will go to some different situations. You should have seen these in the probability class a lot. That you understand, like in Markov chain, this stuff. So you either go to a case, we call it B1. I made a small mistake. Yeah, I have to introduce something else here. So associated with each of them, we call something a price vector. P1, P2, P3. So you will buy or sell A1 unit of the first asset at price P. Now, time passes, you go to time 1. Now, you don't know what's going to happen. So you will either end up with, let's say, P prime 1, P prime 2, P prime 3, which would be the new prices in this case, or P double prime 1, P double prime 2, P double prime 3, or P triple prime 1, P triple prime 2, and P triple prime 2. So, okay, now let's make the confusion on this. Forget the third one, we only have 2. So, you're standing here, you have 3 types of assets, each of them at their own price. When time passes, you're going to either end up in this case or in this case. The price is either with this vector or this vector. So, we call that we have n type of securities, n is 3 here. And the market can be after one period can be in m different, can have any of these in m different types. Established, whatever you call it, which m equals 2. So market idea would be type A, or market would be type P. Okay? Now, what do we know? What else do we know? We know the price of securities here. This P vector of P. We call it S0. So S0 is a vector first, and it's the price of the securities at time 0. So this is nothing more than you go to market and look at the securities, ask for the price, they will give you the price. So this would be our S0. And we call each of these, now we have, I don't know if you have seen this notation, this is something you see a lot in probability, that each of these cases, we correspond with one omega. So we call this omega 1 case, we call this omega 2 case, instead of 8. And you should have seen this in probability, it's just a notation that they use a lot. So now the prices after one period would either be S omega 1 or S omega 2, which S omega 1 is the prime one, S omega 2 is the double prime. So this is the notation, this is the prices after one period. And obviously S0, all of them are a vector of Rn. Why? Because there are n type of securities, so each of them have n components. Each of them would have components. For example, this one. S01 is S0.
Does security mean one type of share, or does it mean one portfolio of shares?
No. Assume it's one type of asset. Anyway, just one.
So like,
this is a house, this is a car, this is a motorcycle.
so one house is like one security, the car is a security.
Think of it very, you can think of it as, let me say my favorite fruits. Apple, orange, and pumpkin. Now, so we have these, so this will be the setting of our problem. We have certain types of securities, n type, and we know their prices now, and we go to future one step, we are going to end up in n different cases, one of them, we don't know which one, but we know that at each case the prices would be a vector like this, S omega 1, S omega 2, S omega 3. Now we have to choose a portfolio, which is our A, which in our notation it will be called theta. So theta is how many of each one you have, you want. You want to buy 2 houses and you want to sell 3 cars. So theta would be, well, it's not defined here in words, so let's say just the portfolio. Okay. Which is just a vector of theta 1 to theta n. Obviously, its dimension should be in Rn because it should say for each of them how much you want. It's just the same thing as the same dimension as the price. Now, the first thing is, what's the cost of a portfolio at right now? Let's understand. So this is the portfolio, and these are the prices. Let's forget this notation and stick with this one, which is S. So S01 is S02 are the prices. So the price of theta, the vector theta would be, the price that would be not important, would be theta 1 S01 plus theta 2 S02 plus theta n S0. So this would be how much you have to pay to get this portfolio. And in our vector notation, we know that this is called the S0 prime.
Wasn't S the price vector at time 0 or time 1?
Time 0. S0 is the price at time 0. S1 is the, S omega 1 is the price at time 1. So S0 is the price at time 0. So you know that if you want to buy this amount of it right now, you have to pay this amount. If you want to buy this amount of it right now, you have to pay. That's all. If you want to sell it, you put a negative number, the cost of portfolio comes.
Yes, what is the top number and what is the bottom number indicate?
Oh, look, S0 is the vector itself, so S01 is the first component, S0n is the n component. Do you see here?
So why is it S01?
Price of the person.
Here? Oh, sorry, thank you. S01, thank you. Okay, now it's correct. Yes, this one was correct, but the other. So I'm just checking. So that's the price of the portfolio. Right. How much you have to pay? So assume you just want to buy all of this positive, it costs a lot. If you sell something, it would be negative, the cost of it would go down. If you're getting money from somebody paying it for something. So this would be the cost of buying this portfolio. Now, the second thing that we define is the payoff of a portfolio in the next step. So assume that you chose a portfolio, theta. Now you want to see what's its payoff in this case, what's its payoff in this case. Exactly the same method, we just multiply it again by the prices, but at this time. So the payoff of theta at time 1 would be theta 1 is 1 omega 1 plus theta 2 s 2 omega 2 plus theta n s n omega 1 omega. Okay, let's see what this one is saying. This one is saying the price of theta. So theta, all of them should be there. It's the amount that is in the portfolio of each asset, whatever it is. S omega 1, the whole thing, is the vector of prices in case 1. So this S omega 1 would keep repeating. Then we should just go over its elements one by one. So S1 omega 1 is the price of the first asset if we end up in the condition omega 1. S2 omega 1 is the price of the second asset if we end up in case omega 1. And continue. Okay? So this would be written in our notation in a nicer way as S omega 1 transpose multiplied by K. Is it clear? When you're silent, it means that it's not clear. So when it's clear, you're talking. So I'm afraid what's confusing here. Are you sure it's clear? Okay, good. Because of this, so that I get the speech. That's my feedback. Now we make up something. We call it the payoff matrix. It's nothing fancy, but just putting these stuff near together to make our notation easier. So we make a matrix like S1 omega 1, S2 omega 1, Sn. So this is all the prices of the assets in case omega 1. Then S1 omega 2 is Sn. And we continue it until we. So how many conditions, how many cases we might end up? What are the number of? M. So we might end up in M different cases in future. So from omega 1 to omega m. S1 omega m till Sn omega m. So this matrix is n by m. This is correct? Yes. N rows and m columns. Okay? Now to write it nicer, we write it this way. S omega 1, S omega. So what are each of these are vectors. So this guy is nothing like writing this guy in a compact way. Now we call this payoff matrix. And we call it S1. So, and the name makes sense because, S omega 1 suggests that, this is case omega 1 of a bigger matrix. So S1 is matrix of all cases. So S1 is a payoff matrix. So by looking at S1, you see all the information about time one in one big matrix. You know that the first column would be the prices if you end up in the first case, the second column would be the prices if you end up in the second case, and so on. Now, the last thing which is we need to define is, well, not the last thing, but something that we need to work with is, let's look at it first. We define something like this. What was this? This was the price of the payoff of our portfolio if we end up in case one. Okay. Now we can just do something like that. So this is, what is this? A vector, a number? It's a number. It says that $10, $15, some number. So this is the number. So it tells you the price or the payoff of this portfolio at time one. If you have this, you make up $10. That's it. Now we can write these $10 case 1, $20 case 2, till case m, because we could end up in m different cases, which is minus $10, for example. We can write them in a vector, and we call this a payoff vector. So what would this payoff vector mean? It would mean that it would tell you by looking at it that what are the possible payoffs that you might end up with. So you say that if you buy this portfolio theta, next time you will either have $10 or $5 or you lose $2. These three cases might happen. And how do you get it? You just multiply the portfolio by all the possible prices. So you look at, if you chose this portfolio, you multiply it by this price, it gives you a number. You multiply this one by this vector price, it gives you another number. So these two numbers will be the possible cases. Is it clear? Yes. It took me more than just understand. Now,
Ali,
yes.
what is the subscript 1 for S1?
Oh, time bar.
How are you having M there? You're having S1 through Sn there, right?
Yes, that's n.
In each column?
Here?
No, above that.
No.
Here? Oh, these are superscripts, this is subscript.
No, but how are you having N as well as M in each entry?
Just a second, let me make sure if I understand you. You're talking about this matrix?
Yeah.
Okay. So in this matrix, what I'm saying is, okay, forget this, just look at the first column. It says that, and forget the superscript. S omega 1 is the vector of all possible prices at time 1. It's the vector of the prices if you end up in case omega 1. Case omega 1 is the top one, whatever you want. Okay? So, at case omega 1, there are n different securities, so you should have n different prices. So this is the price for the first, price for the second, price for the nth one. So this is one vector that we just put all of them together in a compact notation because S omega 1. When we put the subscript, we mean that the price of that special security, that special asset in this case. So in condition omega 1, price of the second asset is this number. This is the vector of all prices. Now I put all these conditions, cases, m different cases, just near each other, beside each other, column-wise. So the first column is the first prices in the first case, the second column is the prices in the second case, until the m case. I have n different cases. Good. So we call that then S1. So S1 means prices of all securities in all cases. It's a big matrix. It has everything in it. We refer to each of its column as S omega 1 till S omega m, and each of its elements as S2. So basically, this is too compact, this is a little bit less compact, this is totally all the numbers. Now, so we were talking about these prices, that in each of these cases, there is a number associated with it, which is the payoff of that portfolio. So, for example, in my case, whatever the numbers were, they turned out to be nice payouts. $10, $20, minus $10, for example. So it says that you will either end up having $10 or $20 or some other number. So let's put these numbers together. So this one is, for example, only the first one. There would be S transpose omega 2, which says that if you end up in case 2, omega 2, and you have portfolio theta, you will end up this month, having this amount of money. So this vector is nothing more than this. S omega 1 transpose theta, S omega 2 transpose theta, S omega n transpose theta. So this is the same vector. It's just telling you all the possible payoffs that you might have if you buy theta. If you have theta and hold to it, you will have one of these possible payoffs. Now, that is nothing more than S1 multiplied by theta. Just multiply it by theta, you will get this. Oh, sorry, transpose. There should be a transpose here. Yes, transpose. Thank you. So let's see what happens if you transpose this. If you transpose this column would be the first row. So it would be S1 omega 1 multiplied by theta 1 plus S2 omega 1 multiplied by theta 2 plus Sn omega 1 multiplied by theta n, which is this, the first one. So if you transpose this matrix and multiply it by theta, it will give you a vector. It should be all the possible pairs. Clear? Yes or no? Okay, so I explain it again. Because that was not a good way. So just to go over it very fast, because then there is no more notation to put and we will just be fine. So we said that we have n different securities, n different assets, apple, car, and orange juice. And there are n different conditions that you might end up: sunny, cloudy, rainy, thunderstorm. And in each of these cases, because transportation is affected, the price of orange and apple will change. So if you have a certain amount of each of them, in each of these cases, you will end up having different prices. Now we put these things in an abstract, boring notation that S0 is the vector of all the prices at time 0. It's the price of apple when you go to Apple tree to get the price. Then S omega 1 is in case that it's rainy, what will be the prices? S omega 2 is in case that it is cloudy, what are the prices? So S omega I are the prices in different cases. Now, you stick with some portfolio, meaning that you go and buy each of these assets. So there will be numbers from theta 1 to theta n. They could be positive or negative. You either buy them or sell them. Now, what's the price of theta right now? You multiply each component by its price. So theta 1, S01, theta 2, S02. In our notation, it will be this vector transpose multiplied by theta. Now, payoff of theta 1 is exactly the same thing, that instead of multiplying by its cost now, you multiply by its price in the next period. In case of omega 1, this will be the price. Compact notation, transpose of S omega 1 multiplied by theta. In case 2, omega 2. Then we said that, okay, let's make it nicer, and we put all the prices that are possible in the next period side by side, and make it write it in a more compact notation. This, we call this matrix S1, is all the possible payoffs that might happen. So by looking at this matrix, you can say if it is cloudy, what will be the price of orange? If it's rainy, what's the price of apple? This matrix would give you that. Then we saw that if you just transpose it and multiply it by theta, it will give you this number. This is just nothing more than an observation. So we call S1 transpose theta the payoff vector. Okay? So now we know how to write all the possible payoffs. We know how to write down all the possible. Well, we know how to write down all the possible payoffs for a certain portfolio. We know all the possible cases that you might end up with. Now the first thing that we really define is, well, these are all notations, nothing really fancy. It's something we call attainable security. So first of all, what do you mean by security? By security we mean a vector of n elements. That's all. So it would be a vector of let's call it, we call it x here. Let's call it. So x1. It doesn't matter how you put it, superscript, subscript, the way you feel comfortable. Just don't mix them. So it's just a vector of numbers, n numbers. That's it.
This is like a portfolio then.
Just a second, let me see if I'm not mistaken.
Just a second, I think I made a mistake. N, that's N.
Interesting, n becomes.
No, N. What am I saying? That's correct. N. That was correct. Sorry. I was thinking of something. This is N. Correct. That's right. It doesn't have any meaning if I do N. So it just means that,
But the notes say x belongs to y.
so let's not call this X. I chose a bad name. Let's call it, we don't have any definition here for it, so just some notation. Let's call it A. So this would be A1 to X. I shouldn't have chosen it. That was why I was thinking it's N. A. Just some. So we just, a vector which has N elements. That's all. Okay. Now, this would have, okay. That's not how I wanted to say it, but let's say it. So this would have a payoff. Because you are sticking with, a certain amount of, let's call it,
Is identifying the
this is not the way I want to say it. So let's just, forget this part. This is not really what I wanted to say. We're going to come back to this in a different way, but that's not the right thing. Okay. Security, think of it as something like portfolio. Okay. You just have some money. You did that exercise number 4. It was talking about a security which is attainable or not. Okay. Now, a security is something like a portfolio for the time being. Just think of it as that vector, but I don't want to work this. Now, it will have a payoff. Okay. If you could mix these assets that you have here to match the payoff of that thing, then you call that security attainable. That's what. So we can get it. You can mix your portfolios. You can mix your portfolio. You can choose some elements of this to get that number.
So it means that the final product is going to be equal all of that factor.
No, the payoff, the number.
The
Payoff.
S1 transpose.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just write. X that we defined as S1 transpose theta. What was S1 transpose theta? S1 transpose theta was this number, which was a vector of payoff in all possible cases. Okay, so in case 1 you wanted to end up with $10, for example. Let's make it abstract. This would make much more sense. W3, W4. Okay, $2 minus $1, $5. Okay. So you pick a theta, a certain theta, and you multiply it by S1 theta. It tells you will either end up having $10, $2, minus $1, $5. Okay? So this is a m-dimensional vector. Okay? This is just it. Now I think that somebody comes and tells you, can you find an investment for me which in case omega 1 gives me $5, in case omega 2 gives me $2, in case omega 3 gives me 0, wow, and in case omega 4 it gives me $5. Without any, so it's not, he's not coming giving you a theta and asking you what are the possible payoffs. He gives you a vector like this, which is m-dimensional, not n. I was correct, it's n. And tell you, can you make this thing for me? Can you give me a portfolio that in case omega 1 gives me $5, if omega 2 happens, gives me $2, if omega 3 happens, gives me $0, if omega 4 happens, gives me $5. You really don't know if that theta exists or not. So you have to go and play with these thetas, just start playing them, solving equation in whatever way, and see if you can make this thing or not. If you can make it, we call this thing attainable. If you cannot make it, we call this thing not attainable. So that's what we mean by attainable. That's why I started from a very bad point. So this is, I think, an easier way to think of it. We have a theta. We know how to calculate this payoff. We calculate it. Now, you don't know the theta. Somebody just comes to you and gives you, asks you, I want these payoffs. Is your company or whatever you know, whatever technology that you have, can you give me a portfolio that I have this? So you go and you have the S1s, you start looking in your portfolio, you start playing with the, to see if you can make this or you cannot make this. Now, somebody, as soon as you have two different companies, one of you has sells certain type of securities, the other one sells the other type of security, the second type. Now, one of them can make this vector, one of them cannot make this vector. So one of them is attainable for it, the other one is not attainable. So it depends on what you start from, what kind of security you have, how they change. So what we mean by attainable is this, that you have a vector of like this of n dimensional that you can get it, you can make it by playing your theta. Okay? Now, a market is said to be complete if you can make all the vectors. Now it makes sense, you know. So if any vector that they give you, any number, you know, any real numbers, okay, and you can make it, then you have a complete market.
This is not.
This is here.
No, this is not clear.
This is not clear. Oh, so I said that these vectors, some of them you can, some of them you cannot make. It's just, you know, it's what is this? This is.
Don't we have to find a theta which will satisfy all these?
Yes, but sometimes there is no theta that satisfies it.
So then that security is not attainable.
Yes. But if all of them are attainable, it's possible. If your S1, okay, let's give you an example.
What do you mean by all of them?
Okay, let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. Assume that you have a, okay, assume n equals 2 and m equals 2. Okay, so you have two different assets. So they would have price 1, 2, and price 2, 4. Okay, so this is case omega 1, this is case omega 1. Okay, this is case omega 1, this is case omega 2. Okay? Now, first we have to transpose this matrix, so we transpose it. This would be 1, 2, 2, 4. Okay? Now you multiply it by theta. Theta 1, theta 2. You should make it equal to the thing that that guy is asking you. Let's say 3 and 7. Okay? Let's see if there is a theta or not that will make it. So let's multiply it. So it would be theta 1 plus 2 theta 2 equals 3. 2 theta 1 plus 4 theta 2 equals 7. Divide this by 2, it would be theta 1 plus 2 theta 2 equals 3.5. Obviously there is no solution for this, so you cannot make it. Okay? What if your prices were 1, 3, 2, 4? Then you could make it. So it depends on this, it depends on a lot of things. The dimension of this, in fact it depends if this one has a 0 determinant or not. But we are not really worried about it. So if your case is a case that you can make all of the cases, then we call it a complete market. If we cannot, we don't call it a complete market. So in this case we can make certain ones. The ones that satisfy this question.
All of the cases means that there will be multiple customers.
No, all of the cases means all of these vectors. 3 and 7, root 2 pi. This is another case. So if you can make any vector that you put here, you can find the theta for it, we call it a complete. It means that there is a mixing of your securities that will give you that vector. But if for some of them there is no mixing of this, then you say it's incomplete. Okay?
Can we obtain that from putting the determinant on the side?
That's it depends on this, if this is a singular matrix or not.
If it is similar, then
So I made this example that it doesn't work. You can make it someday. We are not really worried about the mathematics also.
What's this stuff on the right hand bracket?
This one?
Yeah, what?
Root 2 and pi. That's a weird example, you know.
Okay.
3 and 7. Nobody wants a pi
So
base.
3 and 7 or...
Yeah, I just want to say you can put anything here. As long as it's real. As long as it's not, well, you can even put, I don't know, complex numbers. Okay.
I like the extent of which you're yeah, I just said it's what.
Yeah. Don't worry. I'm just on the second page. There is one more page. Now, okay, we have to be fast, everybody. Now, I have no problem standing here for long. Now, the second part is, the second one is a little bit, the next definition is a little bit controversial. You should just accept what it is and, that's just the definition. For the time being, it will make that much sense. But we'll talk about it. I hope that this one made sense, that what do we mean by attainable and what do we mean by complex.
So now you're saying that there can only be one unique data for each X.
Okay, well, not necessarily, because in this case, if this is 3 and 6, there would be many data.
So
So either there is nothing or one or infinite number.
essentially means that if you have m unique equations, then that means that any security is attainable.
Yeah, if you have
But if two of them are the same,
n linearly independent. Don't worry about those really. We really don't need them. Okay. I erased my most important thing. Now, this is the important definition, and we'll see later on why it's important. Now, so we know define X as a pair of matrix for a security theta, for a portfolio theta. So it has till X1 till X. Okay? So we define this like this. Now, each theta would have some X associated with it. Okay. And each theta would have a price associated with it. This is not really, this price is just a number. I even don't mean that. I mean this price of this. So when you say portfolio theta, the first thing that you see, they say, okay, you wanted this, pay $10. You want this, pay $10, $2, and $3. So P is the price. This is associated with this theta. And we also know that there is an X associated with this theta, which is the payout matrix. If you buy theta, you will end up having one of these pairs and nothing else. Now, let's write it down. Let's think of it like this, that theta is something that I really don't care what it is. X equals 10 to 1, and P equals 3. Okay. Now, I'm going to write down an equation like this. 3 equals pi 1, 1, 10 plus pi 2, 2 plus pi 3. Okay. This is nothing really strange. So I say that I just want to make this number by saying with these three numbers, put pi 1 there. Yeah.
Question?
Yes.
Can you explain that again?
Yeah, I haven't explained anything. I haven't said anything. I was just writing there. No, whatever I said was just, I just wrote down this equation. I didn't explain what it is. And I just gave an example of 10 to 1 and 3 and, I haven't explained what it's talking about at all. So what now? We will have, just a second, this one is a little bit important. So just a minute. Now, you will have a lot of theta, different theta. Not 1 or 2 or 3, a lot of them. So this is for one theta, it had this payoff matrix and it had this price. You pick another theta, it has another payoff matrix. Minus, I really need a minus somewhere. 2 and root 3. And its price is e to the power of 3. So then e to the power of 3 equals minus pi 1. I write the same equation again here. Plus 2 pi 2 plus root 3 pi 2. So I will have a certain number of theta, some theta. maybe infinite, depends on how you look at it, the range is infinite. For each of them, I can write this equation. Okay. Now, if we can find a pi, a vector pi, pi1 plus till pi n, which is a strictly positive. Okay, this is very important. It's strictly positive, not negative. That those pi's satisfy all these equations. It means that if you pick the price of any portfolio and you take the payoff, write down this equation, those pi's fit in here. If there exists such a pi, we call it a state vector, the state price vector. So that's the definition. Sometimes you have a state price vector, sometimes you don't have it. You can just, easily cook up some examples that you don't have it. Just, there will be a billion equations and 3 variables. So just pick 4 of them in a way that they don't satisfy the second. So if there is such a pi, a strictly positive that satisfies all these equations, then we say that we have something called a state price vector. If there isn't, we don't have it. So this is a property that might exist in some places, might not exist in some places. We would explore it a little bit more and we would see that when it comes in.
What does that equation indicate, or where does this come from? P.
Oh, we will talk. So that's why I said that this might sound a little bit strange. But think of it for the time being as a definition. In 10 minutes it will make more sense. So for the time being, we have a price for each portfolio. Each portfolio has a payoff. If they satisfy this, we would write such an equation. If there exists a pi that satisfies all of these equations, then we say we have something called a state price vector. Otherwise, we don't. We will see later on. Yeah.
What means state price dictator?
We haven't got there yet. Have we? That's the next one. Oh, and the whole, we'll talk about it. Yes. Oh, definitely. You might need to repeat the question. Now, so the question was about the state price dictator. It's in the homework. We'll talk about this in the second one. When this is finished, that will make it the last one.
Is this price at time 1 or time 0?
So is the price at time 1 or time 0? You mean it's a price right now. You want to buy it?
Right now.
Yeah, right now. How much you have to pay? Pay after in time 1. Okay. Yeah. The fourth bullet, forget it. It's not important. Any security with the strictly positive, we have not covered it yet. Now we talk about arbitrage, our friend that we have been dealing with for the. So just keep this in mind. We'll come back to it. Now, with all the notations that we have had till now, we can now put our friend, define our friend arbitrage in a more mathematical way. Now, we say that we distinguish 2 different types, and we'll see why. If there exists a theta such that this is there exists. S0 theta transpose is less than or equal to 0 is strictly negative, and S1 transpose theta is strictly positive. This is still following our old notation that at time 0 negative money means you're making money. At time after time 0 positive money means you're making money. I'm going to explain it. So what does this mean? S0 transpose theta. S0 transpose theta was price, not price of theta, sorry. Cost of theta, let's say. Because it might cost you, okay. It's the same thing, don't worry, you don't need to create anything. This would make sense when I'm explaining it. So, what was this? This was cost of theta. How much you had to pay to buy it, okay? So, it says if the cost is negative, meaning that you make money now. And later on, it would be positive. It would mean that you would also make money in future. Basically, you wouldn't lose any money. There's no risk here. Okay? This could be a case of arbitrage. This is what we would call arbitrage. It means that if you buy the portfolio theta, regardless of what happens, you're going to make money now, you're going to make money in future. Basically, you do nothing, you sit here, you make money. You take no risk, nothing, everything is nice, So this is one case of arbitrage, that you make the money right now, and you're sure that later on you wouldn't lose any money. So this is greater than equal. It means that this can be 0. Payoffs in all future can be 0, but it is definitely non-zero right now. So it means that you make the money right now. You go and sell something for $10, you buy something for $9, so you make $1, and later on you will have no commitment, 0, 0, 0, 0. This would mean free money. You do nothing, you sit and you make money. Now, the second type of arbitrage, which we call it type B, means that there exists a theta that S0 transpose theta is less than equal to 0. S1 transpose theta is greater than equal to 0, but S1 transpose theta is not equal to 0. Now, let's see what this means. This is the other type of arbitrage. It's saying that right now you might either make money, negative, or you might just not make money, end up 0, even, $10, 10. But in future, you will definitely make money. Now, what do we mean by definitely make money? If you have a vector, forget that thing, vector V, which is not strictly greater than 0. Can V be this number? Sorry. When we say V is not equal to 0, 1, 0, 0, 0 is a vector which is not equal to 0. Okay? And V is a vector which is greater than equal to 0. So by writing these two together, we make sure that none of them are negative, and at least one of them is a strictly positive number. So this would make sure that you make no money now, or you might make a little money now, and in future, there are cases that you would definitely make money. There might be cases that you don't make money, but there are cases that you would definitely make money. And since it would happen probabilistically, you would end up making money, in long run or now. Okay? So this is the second type of arbitrage. This is talking about not making money right now necessarily, but definitely making money in future. This one, okay, if you write strictly greater than 0, it means that in all cases in future you should definitely make positive money. This vector V is not greater than 0, because two of its elements are strictly 0. You see what I mean? But this itself, if you invested 0, nothing, and there is one case that you might make money and two cases that you don't make money, this is a case of arbitrage, because sometimes you make money without doing anything, just sitting there. So we want to exclude this case. Yes?
Ali, just probably I'm summarizing your point, but S1T means that every element in the S1T data matrix should be greater than 0.
When it's like this?
Greater than or equal to 0.
Yes. It means that every element should be greater than or equal to 0, which 0 itself is also greater than or equal itself. But this makes sure that it's not a 0 vector. One of them is at least positive. So this is just saying that, the first one is saying that you make money right now, and in future you either make or don't make, so your arbitrage is because you made the money now. This is that you didn't make money right now, but in future there are cases that you would definitely make money, and in other cases you wouldn't lose money. Never. So this is just distinguishing these two. Now having all these machinery, we can use our knowledge from duality, blah, 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 to see if they give us a certain security with certain prices. Is there a case of arbitrage or not? That's the whole idea. Now, first of all, we define a new matrix. Today we are in the business of defining matrix. So, matrix A, which we define it as S1 transpose minus S0 transpose. Okay, let's see what this means. If you remember, S1 transpose was nothing more than S1 omega 1, blah, 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 Sn omega 1. So the first row would be all different prices if omega 1 happens. The second row would be all different prices if omega 2 happens. This is because it's the transpose of S. S1 omega for M till Sn. And the last row is minus S0, it's just the prices right there, which would be minus S01 till minus S0. Okay, so we make this matrix. Has no intuition, we just write it this way, nothing really special. Okay, I need. Now, let's see what we want to do with this vector. Now, this arbitrary thing that I was telling you, what is this? This is matrix S0 transpose by theta, and sorry, the vector, and this is the matrix multiplied. So this is basically the same stuff here, So we can write that thing in a more compact way. Type A would mean there doesn't exist a theta such that A theta is greater than equal to E M plus 1. Let's see what this means. It's saying that, what is A theta? A theta is, so the first row, theta 1 till theta. So A theta, this is going to be a vector itself. So the first element would be S omega 1, theta 1, S 1 omega 1. Sn omega 1 theta n is greater than equal to, what is Em plus 1? Em plus 1 is a vector with m plus 1 element, all of them 0, except for the m plus 1 element. Okay? So this would be greater than equal to 0. All the rows would be greater than equal to 0. And the last row would be greater than equal to 1. What's the last row? The last row is minus S01 theta, minus S02 theta 1, theta 2, minus S0 n, multiplied by a negative, less than equal to minus 1. This is the same thing. If you can find a theta which is less than 0, just multiply it by a big positive number. Then it would be, this would be definitely less than minus 1. You can just multiply it by a big enough number, and this would remain still positive. So instead of saying type A, you can define a matrix like this, and instead of saying there is a theta which satisfies those, or there is not, doesn't matter. It's not. We say there is no theta which satisfies this. Yes.
Why do we take 1? I mean, it just has to be greater than 0. Why do we take it as 1?
Well, because we are working with greater than equal. So you just pick any number greater than 0. You can pick.
No, but if we are saying greater than equal to 1, that means that even if it's 0.5.
Yeah. Okay, now that's what I explained right now. So if this is strictly greater than equal, strictly less than 0, let's say it would turn out to be minus 0.5. Okay. Hey. Now, we multiplied, instead of theta, I used 4 theta. This would be less equal to minus 2. We just multiply this by 4.
Any linear combination?
This would be minus 2, and this would still remain positive. Okay? So I'm just saying, if one of them is a strict negative, you can just, take a big positive number multiplied by that. You can always scale it. So this is the second, and the second type of arbitrage, which you can work it out yourself. If you want those things to happen, it means doesn't have to, not to happen. Sorry. It would be equal to saying A theta is greater than equal to EI for all I between 1 to m. So basically, these are m different m things like this. A theta greater than equal to E1, A theta is greater than equal to E2. So, no type A arbitrage would mean that there is no theta which would satisfy this. No type B arbitrage would mean that there is no theta satisfying these M. Okay? Yes.
The last one, if you could explain that again.
Oh, it's nothing more than that. Okay. Forget all this weird stuff. E1 A theta is greater than or equal to E2. A theta is greater than or equal to E. Okay. E is defined the same way. Okay. E is a m by 1 matrix. Now, this is equivalent to saying that there is no theta that will satisfy any of these. It's just writing it down. Believe me, it's nothing more than what I did for side A. It's just going to take more time because there are m of them. You have to case all different cases that when the first element is a strictly positive, when the second element is a strictly positive, when the third element is strictly positive, then you scale the first element big enough to make it. So it's just writing that would be harder. So writing it that way is harder. Writing it in a metric format is easier. Now we are done. Now we can use our knowledge of duality to get some nice results. Finally, all this talking would show something. Up to now it was nothing. Now, if you look at this, this is A theta greater than or equal to E1, A theta greater than or equal to A theta greater than or equal to EM, A theta greater than or equal to A M plus 1. They're all, write it in a compact way. A theta is greater than or equal to EI. I is any number between 1 to M plus 1. Now,
Ali, in the B part, is there an OR implication, or is it an AND implication? As in, should all of these be greater than, or just one of them is required?
All of them. I'm going to explain what I'm writing here. I'm just in the middle of writing it. Theta is, be a little bit patient. Free and minimize. Okay. So, if you find a theta which satisfies these constraints, then you will have a case of arbitrage. Okay. So, if there is no theta which satisfies all of these, it's AND, then there wouldn't be any arbitrage. Sorry. Sorry. What am I saying? Yeah, sorry. This is. I wrote it in a bad way. This is a set of m plus 1 optimization problems. Okay. I wrote it this way, then it would mean that you're AND. Sorry. I didn't mean to AND the problem. So, if any of these happen, if this one happens, or this one happens, or this one happens, any of them happens, there is a case of arbitrage. Okay. So we can write these conditions, any of these to happen, as constraints for optimization problem. So these are constraints. If any of these problems are feasible, any of them, it means that there is a theta which will satisfy one of these m plus 1, which is a case of arbitrage. Okay? So you will have m, the objective function is not at all important. It can be anything. We don't even care about the objective function for right now. We will care about it when you're writing the dual. But right now we don't care about the objective function. So if any of these problems has a feasible solution, there is a case of arbitrage. So you have m plus 1 different optimization problems, which you want all of them to be infeasible, so that there is no arbitrage. Okay? Now here comes into play the nice thing about duality, that you choose a specific objective function that the dual would be a nice thing that you would like. Now, if we choose this 0 transpose theta as our objective function, the dual of this problem, each of these problems, there are m plus 1, so there would be m plus 1 dual, would turn out to be, it's a minimization, it would be a maximization, then maximize yi, multiplied by y is greater than or equal to 0, and A transpose Y equals 0. Writing the dual of a primal is totally a mechanical thing. It's nothing. Yes?
I'm not sure the 0 transpose theta comes from. Why which one?
Oh. You can choose any function here. Anything. Okay. And it wouldn't matter at all for us in the first step that we are just looking at the feasibility of this problem. But we want to use this dual problem as a nice thing to use it, okay, somewhere. So if you choose this 0 here, you will have this greater than or equal to 0 here. If you choose something else, you will have that thing greater than equal to, which wouldn't be that nice for us. So choosing this would lead to a nice dual that we can interpret it later. You can choose anything, you will get a different dual here. You can start interpreting that and you would be able, but it would be not that. So that's the reason why we chose that one. Writing this one from this is a totally mechanical thing. I don't think you can read it from that source. It's just, equality constraint is there because these are free. This is greater than equal. Thus, this is greater than this is positive. You can just write it down. It's not really anything. So just read it from the book, how to write the dual problem. Now, there is one thing that you should know. If a problem is infeasible, then its dual is either infeasible or it is unbounded. So what's the meaning of unbounded problem? What's the meaning that the problem is unbounded? What is infinity?
The value of the objective function.
Value of the objective function. So a problem infeasible means there is no vector satisfying the constraints. If it is unbounded, it means that the objective function can go to infinity. So it means that you can take yi very big and satisfy everything. Okay? Now, we are saying that, now, there is one thing about this problem which is nice, the reason that we chose 0. If you choose y equal to 0 vector, it would be 0 greater than equal to 0, and a 0 equal to 0. That's feasible. So this problem is never infeasible, this dual. If you choose another number, you might end up having something infeasible here, if this was not 0. So 0 is always a feasible solution here. So this problem is never infeasible. So if you want this guy to be infeasible, there is no way unless this guy becomes unbound. Okay?
Excuse me.
Yes.
In the dual,
Yes.
the objective function, why is it yi?
Oh, so y in the dual, the objective function is yi. It came from here. Let's see what is this guy saying. This guy is saying a theta would be a vector. Let's call it, we call it x, yes? I don't know, let's call it anything, x, let's call it x. So it would be x1, x2, till x m plus 1 greater than equal to ei is only the ith element. 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0. This is the ith element. Okay? So this is this. Nothing more than that.
And so we have to do this, to solve this problem for every I?
Yeah. So these are m plus 1 optimization problems.
We just can find one.
Okay? So this is just one of them. Ith one. Then there's the jth one, there's the kth one, there are m plus 1 of them. So we're just looking at one of them. So we got to the point that if we want this to be infeasible, meaning that we don't want arbitrage, we should have that this problem is an unbounded problem. Okay? Good. Now, so for each of these problems, there exists let me just first write it down and then okay. So this is saying that for each of these problems, there exists a y superscript I. Y superscript I is a vector. This is the vector here. Okay? There exists a yi, which yi is greater than or equal to 0. Satisfies the first constraint. Yi satisfies the second constraint. And the ith element, which is the guy here, is strictly positive. It's going to infinity, in fact, but we just care that there is a one that is strictly positive. So for each of these m plus 1 problems, there is a vector yi, which is greater than or equal to 0. That vector also, when multiplied by A transpose, equals to 0. And the ith element of it is strictly positive. Yes?
That's type B,
That's right.
type B arbitrage is...
No, there is no type B. This notation, that's the nice thing about this notation. All types of arbitrage turn out to look like each other. This is M plus 1 optimization problem. If you are looking at EM plus 1, then it's type A arbitrage. If you are looking at any other E, it's type 1, it's type B arbitrage.
Actually, type A is a subset of type B.
It's not a subset, it's just another case. Because we have
More
one,
restricted case.
we are going to solve M plus 1 optimization problem. M of them refer to type B, the last one refers to type A. So depending on which I you are choosing it.
Why isn't the objective function the sum of the yi's for the dual?
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Because all of these are 0. EI
But
is
isn't it for all I, or is it only for one particular
for
I?
one particular. This is one of the M plus 1 problems. Okay, there would be another problem exactly, okay, this is E1 for example. Then there would be another problem, minimize 0 transpose theta, A theta is greater than or equal to E2, theta is 3. So there would be M plus 1 different problems satisfy each other. We are going to look at each of them separately. Each of them separately should be infeasible. And each of them separately would have their own dual, which in their own dual they would be a Y which would satisfy these conditions. So there would be M plus 1 different vectors that we're talking about. Now here is what we do. So we solve these M plus 1 optimization problems, and for each of these duals we get a vector Y. Now we define a new vector. We call it Y, which is equal to sum of all these Yi's. Okay? This is nothing fancy. So I'm just adding this. There is one property that this new vector has. All of its elements are strictly positive. Why? Wow. This should be easy to say. Why?
Because each Y has one,
Yeah.
at least one element which is
Yeah.
critical.
Why? Because these Yi's would look like this. The first one would be 1, 0, 0, 0, for example.
0, 1, 0.
The second one would be 0, 2. It can be non-zero here too, but we don't care. The third one would be 0, 0, 10, 0. And the fourth one would be 0, 0, 0, 11. Okay? We know that all of them are positive, or non-negative. And we know that the first element is strictly positive. The second one, the second element is strictly positive. The third one, the third element is strictly positive. And the fourth one is the fourth element is strictly positive. So when you just add them together, all the elements will be strictly positive. Okay? None of them will be 0. So we define the vector Y, which is the sum of these Yi's. How do we get these Yi's? Each of them come from one of these optimizations. Now, that vector pi, which I was talking about all the way back, if it exists, that pi would be equal to this. Vector Y divided by Ym plus 1. Ym plus 1 is, let me write it back. Ym plus 1 is the non-zero element of the last optimization problem, which was type A.
You arrived at those Yi's assuming that you found a solution which is feasible.
Yes, which is we know it's feasible because we say that we assume our case is there is no arbitrage. No arbitrage means that these problems are infeasible. If there is no arbitrage, these problems are infeasible. These problems are unbounded, so they are feasible. So there is a Yi with these properties. So I make this vector, define this vector Y to be sum of those Yi's. And then, I'm saying out of nowhere without any proof, that if you take that vector and divide it by the non-zero part of the last optimization problem, M plus 1, which was the type A arbitrage, the last element of it is non-zero. So if you divide that by this, then this will be that vector pi which had this condition. Okay. Now we will explore why this thing is happening. Don't worry. It's not that hard to
Hey Ali,
Yes.
why are the yi's non-negative?
Oh, why are they non-negative? Because this is greater than or equal to this. You know, this is just writing the dual of a primal problem. Just read it from the book. It's nothing. There is no intuition in it. But there is a little intuition in it. But reading it from book would be much easier than anything else. Writing the dual of a primal, you look at it. If it's minimum, if it's maximum. If this is greater than or equal to something, then the variables will be greater than or equal to 0. If it's less than equal, the variable would be less than equal. If it is equal, the variable would be free. So if there is a free variable here, there is a constraint according to the equal. If a variable is free, the constraint is equal. So it's just this greater than equal to 0 came from the fact that these were greater than equal constraints.
Can you differentiate all the different y's here? Like, why do we have max y of I?
Oh, okay. You're right. Maybe I should. But this is a number. This is just a number. Okay. So let's do this like this. Now this would make sense. Okay. No? Okay. Maybe notation is a little bit confusing. Let me just.
Y has to be a vector.
Just a second. Let's see. Well, I have been using this interchangeably. Sometimes it's a vector, sometimes it's a number. I should have used a better notation. But this is what is in your notes. That's why I didn't change it.
Because there's n plus 1.
Okay. Let me just explain very fast. So, up to here you are with me. Is this part clear, the A part? Is it clear? Okay. Was this one clear? Okay. Now I wrote the dual of this problem. For each of these constraints, we assign a y. 1, y2, y3. These were how we wrote the duals, if you remember. We assigned for each constraint, we assigned a variable and multiplied by the right-hand side to make the maximization, to make the function. So, but these are all 0. All of them would be 0. In the ith problem, we are working with ei. Ei means only the ith element is equal to 1. So only the ith one would survive after multiplying these variables by the right-hand side.
Oh, so yi is surviving.
So y1 is the only number which has remained. Yeah. So we will be maximizing. Now, I call the solution of this problem, solution is a vector, because the solution is of this type, y. Okay? I call it yi, but superscript in parentheses. So these are the vectors. Now, I